officially kicking off our whole day here. I'm Joyce Maroney. I'm the president of the board of the Salem Athenaeum. We are the producer of the annual literary festival. I'm also a member of the wonderful team of volunteers. So people with the black aprons, so thank them for their service when you come. You probably won't be surprised to know it takes us a year to build this festival every year, so it kind of never stops. We do have parallel children's programming going on right now at the Community Life Center, but if you're here, you're probably not going to the Children's Festival. But we do want to thank the Salem Public Library for marshaling that effort. We'd like to thank our partner bookstores. So we have Wicked Good Books over here selling the books of the authors that will be presenting here during the day. We're also partnering with Copper Dog Books in Beverly, if you are a fan of that store. The Salem 5 has graciously provided us with this community room here today. We did just turn down the air conditioning, so hopefully that will continue to get a little more comfortable. Before we begin our in-person event today, we want to acknowledge that this land is Noun Cay, or fishing place, where generations of indigenous peoples lived and passed through for centuries. From the village upon the Nam Cay River, now known as the North River, to Sakamnana Pashamet's fortification, now known as Castle Hill, the people of Nam Cay farmed, fished, traded, raised families, discovered and invented, created art, and above all else, honored the lands upon which we stand today. We acknowledge that this is indigenous land and also acknowledge the Massachusetts tribe who continue to honor and hold this land into the present. So, friendly reminder, this festival is free. All components of this festival are free, but it's not actually free to put this festival on. So if you feel so moved, you can donate at salemlitfest.org or make a cash donation in the back of the room. There's also a QR code to scan in the back of the room that will take you right to an online donation opportunity. There are restrooms down the hall behind me here, and we do have ice water in the back. So, the program today is as follows. Many of you are here for the Micromemoirs that we're starting with at 11. At noontime, we have In Conversation with Laura Zigman and Adrian Brodeur. At 1 o'clock, Gathering and Connecting Italian Heritage as a Creative Touchstone. 2 o'clock, Romance and Tropes in Young Adult Literature. Number 3, Thrills and Chills, if you like me, like thrillers. 4 o'clock, Prime Time, Sequence of Suspense. 5 o'clock, Breaking Bread, Essays from New England on Food, Hunger, and Family. And we will be having an author reception at the end of the day at 6 o'clock. Everything I just said is on salemlitfest.org or in the printed programs that we have at the table in the back and the table out front. So with no further perambulation from me, I will turn this over to Susanna and Beth to kick off 5 Minute Lit.
Welcome to 5 Live. I'm Beth Forstall, a member of the Lit Fest committee and co-host of today's event. This is going to be a fast-moving event with many participants getting up and sitting down. We appreciate your patience and we ask that you hold applause to the very end. 5 Live will feature pieces from 5 minutes, a journal where writers write and share very short, very true stories about very short, very memorable moments in their lives. You can read more about 5 minutes in the programs that we put on your seats. We've also given you very small and very cute notebooks and pens.
And I apologize because there are so many of you that we ran out of tiny notebooks and pens. But you can talk to me later if you really want. I'm Susanna Baird. I'm a Lit Fest committee member and the founder of 5 Minutes. I'm going to say 2 words now, and I want you to know what words come to mind in response, not out loud. Ready? Hot drink. Got your words? There's no way that all of you thought the same thing. Maybe you thought coffee, maybe you thought tea, maybe you thought about your first job at Dunkin' Donuts, maybe you thought about the burn scar your grandmother had on her shin because she dropped her mug when she tripped over her cat.
And just like hot drinks, had a quick conversation with each of your brains, the pieces today are paired to be in conversation with each other. The first two, in fact, share hot drinks. Other paired pieces share a time of day, or a place, or even a sport. We hope these pieces not only speak to each other, but will speak to you as well.
The tiny notebooks come in here. When something, anything, in a piece speaks to you, I'm going to ask you to jot it down with your tiny pen. Don't worry about why the thing spoke to you. Just write down the thing and keep listening. Then in the next week or two, commit to spending 10 or 15 minutes with that thing, with the word you wrote down. Set a timer and put the word in a blank document and see what other words come out. Or walk your dog without earbuds or a podcast and let your brain work over the word. Because this is why we read, and this is why we write. Because words not only connect us to other people and their stories, but words connect us to ourselves.
We'll start with our first two readers. Ian Panos is an avid reader and sometimes writer of fiction and micromemoirs. She loves to travel and typically plans her next vacation before getting home from the one she's on. Ian lives on the Boston's North Shore with her wife, cats, and dogs. Kate McDougall is a reluctant lawyer and semi-successful wrangler of 2 rescue dogs and a cat with delusions of grandeur. She lives in Salem. Kate will be reading a piece by Rushmi Bahopi, a physician and creative thinker who loves to capture moments in words when not attending to her patients and her own children. A former resident of Massachusetts, Rushmi now lives in the Netherlands.
Monday morning called for coffee. The aroma of ground Arabica beans brewing in the kitchen reached my bedroom. The alarm was snoozed, but the coffee beckoned. With tired eyes, I reached for a mug and watched the hot, dark liquid fill my cup. I smoothed its bitter taste with cream and admired the swirl of color as I stirred. I inhaled the rich scent and lifted the mug to my lips. With every sip, I felt the day brighten a little more. When I reached the bottom of the porcelain mug, I was ready for the week to begin.
Nostalgia by Rushmi Bahopi. Vertical swirls of hot steam emanated from bubbles of water. The sugar had mostly dissolved, a few crystals left glittering and melting. Grated ginger bits danced alongside the popping bubbles. She poured a spoonful of dry black tea leaves into the pot, and the pot hissed back. She responded with enough milk, and the pot quieted. The now white liquid quickly changed to cream, but the tea took its time to turn earthy brown. The swirls of steam returned. Her face moved inwards and her glasses fogged. She smiled. The whiff was nostalgic. Chai was an emotion, reminding her of home.
Glenn Alfred lives in Salem with the rest of the witches, as her mother says. She haunts downtown Salem and nearby beaches and breweries with and without her husband Nate and standard poodle Layla. Glenn will be reading a piece by Miriam B.C. Tobin, a playwright and theater artist from Seattle. Miriam also runs Scrib Lab, a writing organization aimed at community. Vicki Dawson is a clerk for the Salem-based Clothing Connection and co-manages the nonprofits program at Salem High School. An avid reader and dog lover, Vicki is an active volunteer with several community organizations, including her church and the Salem High School marching band. She lives in Salem with her family. Vicki will be reading a piece by Carol Alfred, an educator and writer who lives with her husband Dugan in beautiful Moncton, Vermont, where she walks, hikes, and snowshoes well, and golfs badly. Her pieces have been published in the Sunday Boston Globe magazine and performed in Vermont Stage's Winter Tales production.
Growing Out by Miriam B.C. Tobin. I stood at the mirror and traced my childhood with my finger along the white roots that appeared in my part. I watched myself watch myself as I stroked the border between die and die, between weeks of neglect, between memories of being teased and memories of being desired. Getting my first white hair as a child, chasing the ever-growing line of age, now I stood at the mirror and counted, remembered, watched myself watch myself. A fingerprint smudge over my eyes, a speck of toothpaste on my cheek, a bottle of color in my hand. Time to cover up.
Model Wife by Carol Alfred. Our youngest is marrying tomorrow. Yesterday, the last of my hair fell out, victim of my first chemotherapy treatment. Expected, but dreaded. I find you staring across the dining room table at me, and I snap. What are you looking at? You come over and place both hands on my head. Your voice and your hands are achingly tender as you caress my baldness and you croon. I'm just noticing, you have the perfect head. It's the perfect shape and the perfect size. You could be a head model. Then you dub me your model wife. Maybe bald is beautiful.
Jim D. Filippi served in the Air Force during the Vietnam conflict and then taught public school in northern Vermont for 30 years. His books of biography, history, crime fiction, and humor have been praised by publications like Publishers Weekly and the Library Journal. Diane Stern retired from WBZ as a news anchor and reporter after more than 40 years on the radio. She was inducted into the Massachusetts Broadcaster Hall of Fame in 2017, and now she volunteers on several committees and boards, including the Salem Athenaeum and the Immigrant Learning Center. She is a voice artist and a featured background actor in Boston, New York. Diane will be reading a piece by Kelly Scott Reed, the assistant editor-in-chief of Raw Fainant Press, as well as a songwriter and poet who's been published in a lot of different places. Kelly lives in Fairport, New York.
DiMaggio, 1951, Yankee Stadium, mezzanine section. Our family was polenta poor, but our dentist, Dr. Fusco, had a father-in-law who was big with White Owl cigars, one of the Yankee sponsors. He got us these front row seats. A fan in the row behind us, wearing a fedora and shirt sleeves, yelled out, "Put her away, Joe!" DiMaggio. He was in his final year, hobbled, being replaced by this Mantle kid, yet still the classiest figure in all of sports. So I yelled it too. "Put her away, Joe!" Joe didn't. Couldn't. But that was all right. I had spoken to him.
Would you mind shifting over a bit? You're sitting on his hat, and he's a coward. He can't help it himself. He's making me miserable and responsible by complaining. And that's why I have to interrupt your Red Sox game. I'm really going to pay for this. There will be the silent treatment on the ride home. A violent silence. Home and the explosion. How many times will he call me stupid? Can you guess? I am sorry to disturb you, but we have a lot left in this game. And I don't know how long I'm going to last.
Julia Klepsch writes brief memoirs and descriptive nonfiction memoir essays drawing attention to the connections of place, family, and nature through her and her family, especially the scientists and their past. The lesbian writer has been published in Legacy 5 Minutes and is a WOW Women on Writing finalist. Barbara Mathau is a UMass Boston MFA student working on a collection of short stories. She also writes poems and plays. She pays the bills as both a grant administrator at UMass Boston and the proprietor of an Airbnb called the Forsythia Apartment. Barbara will be reading a piece by Samuel Hernandez, who grew up along the Rio Grande River in Texas. He moved to New York City for college and hasn't been back since.
Tethered corn. Which way do you eat your corn? Lines or circles? The pale smoke drifted toward Erica. A delicate hand gesture shielded her face as she turned her eyes to her guests. The air was scented by wood smoke and brookside dampness mixed with cowgirl supper of roasted hot dogs, barbecue pinto beans, tender and split, and local yellow and white sweet corn with kernels so rich
they juicily popped in the mouth. 2 women ate their corn like inspired and rational typewriters. The other 2, creative projects akimbo, ate in tight circles. Laughter, each couple in love, tethered as opposite eaters.
Los Ivanos by Samuel Hernandez. Abuela brings the pot out from her mobile home. It's heavy with the weight of the seed pods from the ebony tree on our lot. Her 4 grandchildren sit beneath the ebony tree. When she lifts the lid, a plume of steam rushes outward, framing her face and clouding over her glasses. The ebony pods have split in the heat, showing their wax-covered seeds. We reach eagerly towards them, but Abuela swats her hands away to protect them from the hot water. She reaches in, grabs the first one, pops in the seed, then deftly spits out the waxy covering.
Holly Wheelsma is a medical and musical professional who has loved public speaking since the days of giving lectures and sermons to her stuffed animals in the basement of her childhood home. She's a graduate of Bay Path University's MFA program and has written a memoir for 20 plus years as a paramedic. Holly is reading a piece by Lisa Braxton, author of The Talking Drum, winner of the 2021 Independent Publisher Book Awards Gold Medal, overall winner of Shelf Unbound Book Review Magazine's 2020 Independently Published Book Award, winner of the 2020 Outstanding Literary Award from the National Association of Black Journalists, and a finalist for the International Book Awards. Phyllis Rittner writes poetry, flash fiction, and creative nonfiction. Her flash can be found in Wrong Turn Lit, Burnt Breakfast, Roy Fenant Press, Versification, Friday Flash Fiction, Fairchild Scribes, 6 Sentences, and others. She is a member of the Charles River Writing Collective.
Commuter Rail by Lisa Braxton. I got on the commuter rail with my suitcase, backpack, and travel bag. I found a 3-seater and spread out all my things. 2 stops later, I heard, "Excuse me." A man wanted to sit on my aisle seat. "Can't you sit somewhere else?" I gestured toward empty seats. He grabbed my travel bag, plopped it on my lap, shoved my suitcase over, sat down. The cretin. The jerk. Later, as the train reached South Station, he leaned toward me. "Can I help you with that suitcase?" Sure." He rolled it through the station and out the door. The gentleman.
11 a.m. train. I pace the tracks, one eye on my watch, the other searching for my best friend Louise. It's 1973, a brutal August. We're 12, latchkey kids who make their own dinners and ride trains into Boston for fun. I open my pocketbook, reread my diary entries. Another train screeches to a stop as blistering steam fogs up my glasses. I'm counting the passengers disembark when I see her. She's running down the slope, black hair flapping behind her, waving her hands as if to say, "I'm sorry, I did it again." I never scold. My heart is leaping too fast.
Kristen Darden is a 2-decade visitor and 2-year resident of Salem. She makes a mean cocktail, a nice pork roast, and misses St. Louis barbecue. Kristen supports her book habit by working in community health and keeps the habit from becoming a hoard by maintaining a little free library. Kristen will be reading a piece by F.H. Lynn, who writes from life and her imagination. F.H. cares about social issues, burnout, animals, and the environment. She's written a draft of a memoir and has many unfinished pieces. She's still finding her writing legs. This year, she's going to find them. Rebecca Ingalls is a former English professor, now midwife and nurse practitioner. She lives in New England with her family, close to the sea, where she loves to write and play music as a DJ for her local radio station.
Promise to Tell by F.H. Lynn.
The phone's ring pierced my mental fog as I lay in the hospital room. I battled a raging infection, too zonked to even watch TV. I picked up the receiver and rasped, "Hello?" A much-missed voice demanded, "Why didn't you tell me you're in the hospital?" Dad texted me. I stammered. "I didn't want to worry you." 5 minutes later, I promised to let her know and hung up. My head hazy, but hope fluttered where anxiety had nested in my chest. My best friend, my sister, who'd kept her distance since I'd shattered our world 9 years ago, still cared.
House fire. Having plunged the toilet and soothed the sick teenager, I pause in fatigue to watch him pack silently for his trip. My last delicate nerve frayed, I ignite an ill-timed confrontation, and we stand in aching tension, anticipating the distance. As we hold the heavy question of how to proceed amid the weight of departure, the fire alarm's shriek ejects us from the vice of conflict, down the stairs, into the stench of grease and melting plastic, through the enveloping smoke. Cast iron aflame, windows thrown open to winter, children comforted, and there in the emergency, we repair our alliance.
Anne Catherine Kelly writes from New Hampshire Seacoast region. She's an editor with Barron Magazine, a columnist with WOW, Women on Writing, and she works in the technology sector. Anne leads writing workshops for nonprofit that offer therapeutic arts programming to people living with brain injury. Oh, reader, I'm sorry. His biography is just a little different, my apologies. Reader, 6th grade teacher, and Salem Kids tour guide, Alicia Diozzi, has spent her career showing kids that learning can be a fascinating adventure. She studies Italian in her free time, sometimes bursts uncontrollably into Broadway song, and has a case of costumes that read break glass in case of last-minute shenanigans. Alicia will be reading a piece by Elizabeth Maria Naranjo, a writer in Tempe, Arizona. Her work has appeared in Brevity, Superstition Review, Reservoir Road Literary Review, and a few other places.
Jeremy. Kindergarten show and tell day. I trailed my brothers to school, clutching my Hanna-Barbera lunchbox, humming and jumping over sidewalk cracks. Jeremy, my German Shepherd stuffed toy, in a stranglehold in my elbow crook. Beanbag body, cardboard eyes, tan and black fur, scattered bald patches like the Velveteen Rabbit. Both irises rubbed clean off, a severed ear. Jeremy bled foam beads from a wound in his haunch. My sister's stitches never held, pulled apart as I dragged him behind me. 49 years later, fraying blue sutures still don't hold stuffing that puffs out and drifts to the floor anytime I pick him up.
Wrapping Paper by Elizabeth Maria Naranjo. You lift a fold of wrapping paper, winter blue with curls of silver, peeling back the foil with more care than it deserves. This has not changed your reluctance to crush something beautiful. You're 14 now and have chosen your own gifts. There is little here to surprise you. Yet this might. The light-up bubble wand I saw you covet for a moment at Disneyland. Your eyes maintain their ever-steady calm, but I know your heart. Still, I'm apprehensive as you set aside the neatly folded square of paper and open the box. And then your eyes are a child's again.
Bobby Lerman runs prompt and workshop for Scribblers Inc., online home to an active writing community and Boston area site for in-person workshops. Bobby, who serves as assistant editor of 5 Minutes, primarily writes medieval romance and travel essays, including a number of pieces for Bella Grace magazine. Jessica Fox is the program director at the Beverly School for the Deaf. She is an avid reader and book buyer, especially at the beach. Jessica lives in Salem with her family, husband Jeff, daughter Paige, and son Lucas. She is currently the Salem High Music Boosters co-president. Jessica will be reading a piece by Leslie Cohen. Alabama born and raised, Leslie is a former lawyer, union organizer, and teacher, and a current editor.
Okay. Skinny dip. July, steamy, hot, moonless. Steve and I skinny dipping in our pool. Car doors slam, people talking, laughing. Someone parking to walk to the beach, we decide. The squeak of our gate, my mother's voice calling out that she has brought friends over to say hello and see our house within sight of the ocean. Our clothes are a good distance away by the back door. We duck down into the water, up to our chins, hoping she doesn't see us, hoping she takes them inside so we can grab our clothes. Mom and company are coming closer.
The Arrival by Leslie Cohen. My loving, difficult sister offered to come the weekend before my first child's birth, but I promised my husband, never her fan. We'd have those last free days alone before everything changed. I understand, she said. Early Sunday morning, 2 voices outside our bedroom window sang, "Si en tu ventana llega una paloma," waking us. My sister and young niece had Amtrak'd overnight as a surprise. "Don't let them in," my partner begged. I rose. Riv and I opened the street door. On the sidewalk, they grinned and danced, suitcases, gift stuffed. I cried out, "You can't come in!" Then everything changed.
Josh Turiel is a tech professional, retired politician, and frustrated author in Salem. Ian Owens is a self-employed engineer who writes for the fun of it, mostly about self-propelled travel and biking. His first book, called Riding the Big One, has both.
The push. 5 minutes remaining is the shout of my coach as the workout hits the home stretch. The jump rope whistles overhead and I push to get one more full round in. Drop the rope, grab the kettlebell, whip the kettlebell overhead, drop it, move on to the push-ups. Made it! Once more through the ladder with a final effort as the music blasts and the timer counts down. Back to the kettlebell as the coach calls 30 seconds, reaching deep to finish the movement as I hear 3, 2, 1, time. Recover, score, clean up, on with the day.
Sirens. My cure for today's news. I lean over handlebars, legs churn, heart thumps. Breathe in, breathe out. Wind whispers through helmet holes. I steer my own course, sunshine warming my back, with song sparrows and chickadees as my soundtrack. Until the sirens. They come up from behind, a rising scream. I jump the bike onto the sidewalk to make way as 2 cruisers and an ambulance roar past. The wailing crescendos and then falls, shattering summer morning's calm. And the news images return. Fire, flood, climate crisis, Omicron variant, riots. A storm is coming. I turn and pedal fast for home.
Elizabeth Weiss is a member of the Salem Writers Group and the Thursday Poets, a poetry collective. She's taught poetry in preschools, prisons, and nursing homes, as well as to the intellectually disabled. She's published poems in London's Poetry Review, Porch, Crazy Horse, the Birmingham Poetry Review, the Patterson Literary Review, and many other journals. Jeff Fox is a physics teacher at Salem High School. He plays the trumpet with the Salem Community Band, pitches for the Rec League Ace Invaders softball team, and volunteers with the Salem High Music Group. He likes swimming, hiking, reading, and listening to music in his free time. He lives in Salem with his family. Jeff will be reading a piece by Mo Afdal, who spends his days on construction sites. He spends his nights writing flash fiction. Mo lives in Sri Lanka.
Christie's Skylight Gardens. Downtown in summer, just before punk exploded, we walked 7th Avenue around Christopher Street past the leather bars. He was so tall, he took 2 steps for my every one. I was leaving the city for grad school. We had one last night together. Without telling me where we were going, he stopped outside the restaurant where we met the year before. "Oh," I said, "you're taking me to Christie's?" Just at that moment, a bag lady appeared. "Hold on to that man," she told me. "He's crazy about you." Without waiting for a reply, she walked off into the night.
Sans Churro by Mo Afdal. I memorize the sway of her curls as she walks away through the orange arch, past the cramped tables and the buzzing gelato display. I bask in the warm cinnamon heat, wishing I had held back till we finished the sugary churro funnel cake she had ordered with uninformed optimism. But the words had absconded from my throat, resisting coherence till her mascara-streaked face turned away forever. So I counted down 4 minutes with the untouched churro, then walked past the orange arch, cramped tables, and buzzing gelato display into the bittersweet night, leaving behind the imprint of her curls.
Jill Paddock lives in Salem, Massachusetts, with a house of kids and animals. She's about to start pitching her middle grade horror of Misery of Magpies about a haunted hotel. Sarah Hunter is Chief Collection Strategist for Boston University's libraries and the soprano section leader and soloist with St. Michael's Episcopal Church in Marblehead. She lives in Salem with her family. Sarah will be reading a piece by Sumitra Singham, who writes in Melbourne, Australia, and wishes her all her real and almost exes well.
First love. It was a rom without the con. I got out of my car near the field house where the band played. A summer's night breeze riffed in time with the crickets and the music that drifted over the grass. I heard his voice singing Boys of Summer. Yes, they told me, the singer of the band is your old boyfriend. My first and best love. They told me that he said, "Jill is awesome, say hi." They told me his girlfriend showed everyone her ring. That was the last time I ever heard his voice, that starry dark night so long ago.
Surprise Party by Sumitra Singham. Another girl brings him to the party. We yell surprise and they beam at each other. My friends pincer move me outside, get me a drink. But I have to go to the toilet sometime and I have to see him kiss her sometime. And I can't move. My skin burns and my chest pounds. He steers me away. It's for your own good, really. And don't you want me to be happy? And all I can feel is the knobbly cold wall I'm leaning on. And I don't know what to say, because the real answer is, not without me.
Selena Cash's work has appeared in over 100 publications in the last decade. Her most recent work can be found in Metaphorosis magazine, Flash Frog, and Ghost Parachute. She survives New England winters on good beer and black coffee. E.F. Sweetman is a writer of crime, noir, horror, and occasional reviews. Her short stories and reviews have appeared in Switchblade magazine, Funded Publications, Tough, Econoclash Review, Broadswords and Blasters, Spine magazine, and Pulp Modern. She lives in Beverly, Massachusetts, where she is currently hard at work on a crime trilogy. E.F. will be reading a piece by Adriana Sanchez Lopez, a Colorado native often consumed by words, trees, cats, and lavender tea. When she's not writing, she's reading and teaching.
Your only save. As you guide the lane line roller around the diving well, the grip behind your eyes clicks. You've navigated the corner hundreds of times, but suddenly the tug of metal on your fingers becomes insistent, not unlike an unwatched child.
The wheels slip below the waterline, and you're holding on with all your 16 years as the corroded bar digs through your skin to striate muscle with rust. The pool is frozen lapis, its exhale thickened with chlorine as you wrestle the behemoth from the deep. Together, you collapse on tile, sipping in pregnant air, unmoved, sure, but somehow saved.
Knuckles. With tightly squeezed fist, she extends her arms. 1, 2, 3 steps forward. Laughing, the boy clicks his tongue and winks. His knuckles rise, crash against hers. Hollow knock, bone striking bone. She doesn't blink. He doesn't notice the flint distilled in her eyes. He curses and tries again. This time, pink flesh exposed, blood, dirt, sun-browned skin. She lifts her chin, fists clenched tighter, nails digging into palms. Steady. She bites the meat of her inner cheek, glares as the next boy assumes his position before her. The first boy shakes his head. This chick's all right. Her small smile, an invisible rift.
John Shiver lives in Western Massachusetts and is in his 30th year of teaching at Ashnuntuk Community College in Northern Connecticut. His most recent book is Stumbling Through Adulthood: Linked Stories, forthcoming in fall 2023, is for now 100 word stories. Jackie Galata is the business manager of the House of Seven Gables. She enjoys teaching, reading, traveling, languages, photography, hiking, karate, swimming, running, aerobics, playing the piano, dancing, cooking, and much, much more. Jackie and her husband Joseph and their 2 children reside in Salem. Jackie will be reading a piece by Apple An, who grew up during China's Cultural Revolution. She came to the U.S. at 26 to work on her PhD. She's a professor and lives in New York State. Her debut memoir, Los Crosses, An Unwavering Journey to a New Life, was published in April.
Years. 20 years ago, one of my community college students wrote an essay about a day so busy that she forgot to pick up her 7-year-old daughter at school. She was terrified that the girl would be scarred for life from waiting an hour in an empty classroom. Her essay bore tiny puckers where her teardrops landed. Yesterday, I read another student essay about a day 2 decades ago when the student's mother forgot to pick her up from 2nd grade. She remembered waiting alone, reading every book on the classroom shelf, hugging her mother tight, and only crying a little.
Starting School by April An. I passed the interview. Jade was next. I turned my hands into fists, hoping the practice had helped. How old are you? Teacher Shao asked. 6. We only accept 7-year-olds. But I'll be 7 by the time school starts. Can't you wait for a year? No, I can't stay away from my sister. Otherwise, I'll cry outside and throw rocks at the windows. Teacher Shao laughed. What if we don't have enough chairs? Jade answered without hesitation. I'll bring a stool. Can you count from 20 to 40? Jade did, without mistakes. I released my fists. We started school together.
All right, I would like everybody to give everybody a hand.
5 Minutes was founded by me in 2020 using content from members of my writing group, The Carrots, a number of them who read here today. You can find us online at 5minutelit.com. I would love if you went to 5minutelit.com and looked in the menu for 5 Live 2023 and took just a moment to learn about these writers, all of whom gave of themselves to participate today. So please go read their bios and figure out ways you can support them. If you like short pieces of work, I would also suggest you check out Salem-based Molecule. You can also find that online, Kevin Carey in the front row. And I want to thank you so much to all of you, the writers and readers, for being part of Salem Lit Fest 23. And a big shout out to our sponsors, supporters, and partners who help keep the Lit Fest free. The Salem Athenaeum, the Salem Public Library, the Salem Cultural Council, the Peabody Essex Museum, Wicked Good Books, which has a table over there, Salem 5, Copper Dog Books, Cinema Salem, the Salem Academy Charter School, the House of the Seven Gables, the Salem Maritime National Historic Site, Essex National Heritage, Theater in the Open, and readers like you who put money in the big bucket back in the room.
And finally, thanks to you, our audience members, for being here, for asking questions, which not today, and for supporting these authors. Next up, we have Laura Zygmunt and Adrienne Brodeur in conversation. We hope that you'll stay with us for the rest of today's great panels and check out our schedule for 2 virtual events tomorrow, plus Enduring Hawthorne at the House of Seven Gables. And thank you to Susanna for putting this together.